Guys, let's be honest. Life moves way too fast for you to be standing around worried if you have BO. I don't care what you're doing. You could be in a job interview. You could be out on a date. Worrying about BO is the last thing you need to be doing. Enter Mando. Whole body deodorant, and you will never have to worry about BO again. Mando isn't just for your pits. It is safe everywhere. Mando clinically has been proven to block odor all day and up to 72 hours. Choose a solid stick with mandelic acid, or go with a spray deodorant, which is perfect for the hard-to-reach spots, and it's offered in scents like Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, and Bourbon Leather. And you want to know what's perfect, guys? Get the Mando Starter Pack, particularly if you're a new customer. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with my exclusive code. And guys, that's over 40% off. Go to shopmando.com and that exclusive code I was telling you about, Chael. Like the famous gangster. The code is Chael. Enter that at mando.com. Or to make it really easy, I put some links below. This is very complicated. Now, you were looking at the greatest featherweight that we've seen, and that's a tough statement. It's a tough statement only because you have the presence of Ilia Topuria. So you got a cup of coffee by Ilia Topuria, but in that cup of coffee he's got a victory. And then you got the guy that I'm saying is the greatest, and that has to do with longevity, and I think most of you would agree with me, but we're saying it based on longevity. I don't know. I don't know if that's right. But we can have that argument or that discussion for another day. The reason I bring it up is because I'm about to be critical. Where would I get off being critical of a guy that won a world title? Oh, and by the way, is the greatest in the weight class to ever win a world title. Well, it's a real question of Lopes. And that's the same deal with everybody. That may or may not be fair, but we don't know enough about Lopes. I mean, look. I am not going to kick Lopes. I will offer him a hand and help him up. I know that he's down. I've been in his shoes. So as opposed to me telling you my perception of this, let me tell you what Lopes' perception of himself is going to be. He brought Western boxing into a mixed martial arts fight. I can count the number of takedown attempts, not that he got, the takedown attempts. He had 25 minutes. I can count the attempts that Lopes made on one hand because the answer is none. I can count the submission attempts that he did in 25 minutes on one hand because the answer is none. I can count the amount of elbows and knees that he threw in the entire fight because the answer is none. I can count the number of kicks that he threw in the fight, and that answer is 3. And there is a chance in 25 minutes that old Chael looked away and missed one. He threw lefts and right hands. He buried his chin, and he kept his hands up, and he did a good job, and he stalked his opponent, and his defense was all right, and he slipped a little bit. But the entire fight, he looked for a knockout punch. And Lopes himself is going to look at that performance, because Lopes is going to be back. This is a great rising talent. You guys love him. Turns out he can go 25 minutes. But you still got to perform. You got to bring your skills with you. And that's just where that experience comes from. And experience won't get you very far in MMA. Experience will hurt you in MMA. You don't get better as you do this. You will leave a piece of yourself in that cage each and every night. But it's not as though experience doesn't bring anything with it. And I'm just sharing that was a real advantage that Volkanovski had. And while I'm being a little bit critical of Volkanovski, it is because I'm questioning how well his opponent fought. And if I'm right, and I just gave you stat numbers, 0 takedown attempts, 0 submission attempts, 3 kicks in the whole fight, no elbows, no knees, no clinch work, no diddy box, and he didn't even try to kick him in the balls. Not for nothing. He did not kick him in the balls, poke his eyes, or grab the fence a single time. All the things that happen in MMA fight, nothing happened but right and left's hands. And when is the last time that you saw a pure Western boxer do well in MMA? The answer is you've never seen it. So in that regard, I saw moments from Volk, believe it or not, where Volk looked old. I saw moments from Volk where he was getting hit and he was getting hurt by shots that at one point never would have touched him. I saw takedown attempts, specifically from body lock position, to a leg trip where Volk has always been devastated in the past and he never got the fight to the ground. So I want to make sure that I'm giving a very fair account to Volk, who is the greatest to have ever done it. And the rightful best in the world. But did he take on the rightful opponent? And we do know the number one guy wasn't there. The number one guy left. So who was the right guy? And if it is in fact Diego Lopes, and that performance was in fact the best of Diego Lopes, well then we're looking at this all wrong and we can move on. But it's not really one of those spots. Like, I don't get done with that fight with Volk clamoring to see Volk fight anybody. And that's a pretty critical thing to say. And you hear that and you think, Chael, you're being very rude. Well, then let me turn the gun back on you then. Leave me a comment. Who are you dying to see him fight? Don't tell me who you think is next or what order should be next, or Rodriguez and he called him out tonight. Allegedly there was a problem. I'm not asking you that. I'm asking who do you want to see him fight? And you're drawing blanks right now. There's nobody you're dying to see him fight. If I told you that I had a magic wand to bring Ilia Topuria back to the weight class, you're not dying to see that fight. You're not dying to see him go in there and fight anybody. And I don't fully know what I saw tonight. I don't. I mean, Volk, boy, he could move southpaw. He could move back to orthodox. He's got one of the best jabs in the game. There's a former rugby player. I mean, Volkanovski is incredible. When I talk about a guy that's older and slowing down, I'm just talking about a guy that would take shots that he wouldn't previously took. I'm talking about a guy that would go for an offense and not score it when he previously would have. And that's where I do happen to like the idea of matching up with Yair Rodriguez, because I would just be doing a competitive analysis. I would be going, okay, let me look at today's Volk, which is older, and I believe looks older, even if the best in the world. He does not look as good as the previous Volk. I'll look at that common opponent, one that the previous Volk had, one that the current Volk has, and that's how I will assess Volk. Other than that, I don't have a goddamn reason for wanting to see that fight. That's not my fault. I've done nothing wrong. That division has not given us any kind of an interest. And it is fully the fault of that division. I'll give you an example. There was a rumor coming in today, and is his name Imanov? He's a total stud. He's 19-0. He just beat Aljo. He deserves for me to know his name, but not for nothing. Is it Imanov? There was a rumor that Imanov was going to welcome Pico into the organization. I will tell you this, behind the scenes coming out of this UFC, there's a rumor they're going to break that fight up and either put Imanov in there with Volk, or they're going to put Pico in there with Volk. That rumor's going on right now. It is 3 a.m. I am standing in Miami, and the arena is right there along with the decision makers. And I'm telling you, that is the direction they're looking at, because it is so uninteresting what you would do with that division. So before you look at me and you think that I'm being critical, so are you. You're not dying to see him fight anybody. And that isn't our fault. Sometimes you got to take your oars out of the water. Volk's done nothing wrong. He's done nothing wrong. He was in there, he battled, he kept his head down, he dealt with adversity. The world champion left the division, Max Holloway left the division. He's standing there, and it's just one of these times where every now and then you got to wait and you got to let things settle. I do think that Imanov is very much a right idea. I do think they're going to be looking for parity. I think that if Yair Rodriguez is to get this fight, Yair Rodriguez needs to go to the media and do a very good job of selling the idea of what would be different, of what is different about Volk, about what is different about Yair, because that first fight simply wasn't competitive. And generally speaking, an organization is going to be looking for parity, but any way that you want to do it. There's no way for any of us to make believe that he returns to a main event. That's not a main event fighter. There is not a main event fight. You can do a title fight. You're going to come down the card into a co-main spot. And in a promotion, it only goes one way, which is up. You start coming down, that's called a demotion. You need to keep a real good eye on that. Because if you go out as an uncrowned world champion, you capture a world championship, and your next fight is in a lower position on the card, something's wrong. And right now, at 145 pounds, I'm giving you a heads up. There is something wrong.